back in the late 2000s.
I was in my early 20s.
I was living happily as a broke expat in Berlin for a few years.
I had a roommate who was from the UK.
We were out late-ish seeing a band play.
It was maybe around midnight or 1 a.m.
Afterwards, we were headed home.
We were walking through a relatively central but quiet part of the city.
We were headed towards a subway station entrance.
We were in high spirits. We had a couple drinks and a fun night out.
Not too drunk, just a little tipsy.
We were laughing and chatting, probably somewhat loudly. We headed arm in arm towards the subway entrance.
It was ahead of us down a long, quiet street. It was late October or early November.
It was still warm enough to walk outside. Misty air hung in yellow halos under the streetlights. A little gust of wind blew some leaves across the pavement.
We both became aware of a figure walking ahead of us.
It was walking in the mist. From the back, it appeared to be an older woman.
She was stooped over.
She was carrying bags in each hand.
She was walking with a very pronounced limp.
She was sort of dragging one of her legs along behind her.
We were speaking English. We were nearly about to pass around her on the sidewalk.
The woman cried out rather exaggeratedly. She spoke English but with a thick German accent.
"Oh, help! Won't somebody help me?"
She didn't sound frightened or worried. She sounded deeply demanding.
Her tone of voice suggested she expected to be helped.
My roommate tried to keep us moving ahead past her,
But I softened and slowed down my pace.
After all, this was an elderly woman.
She was carrying bags late at night. She clearly couldn't walk very well.
I asked her what she needed help with.
She said, "It's my leg. Help me carry the bags. I live just over there."
She nodded towards an apartment building entryway.
It was half a block up the street. My inner Good Samaritan instincts kicked in.
I responded automatically. "Oh, of course we'll help you." My roommate seemed decidedly less enthused. She begrudgingly followed me.
We each grabbed one of the woman's bags.
We carted them to the doorstep up the street. The woman's face came into sharper relief underneath a nearby streetlight. I realized that she looked exactly like a witch out of a German fairy tale.
She had a bent posture. She had a large wart on her nose.
She had grayish, white, straggly hair. She was wearing dark wool clothing with a hood.
I was honestly taken aback by her appearance.
I nearly gasped out loud. Again, wanting to be polite, I pushed this to the back of my mind. Who cares what she looks like? I told myself. She's just an elderly lady who needs our help. We arrived at her building's doorstep.
The entryway door was surprisingly ajar.
That was not the norm in this neighborhood.
She pushed it open easily.
She suddenly seemed to possess more strength than moments before. She leaned forward to hold it open for me. I was supposed to go in first, and she would be behind me.
She gestured up a dark and dingy flight of stairs.
Just up the stairs. Just up the stairs.
I froze in my tracks for a second in the doorway.
My tipsy 23-year-old brain tried to puzzle it out.
Logically, the polite thing to do was carry the bag up the stairs for this woman.
Right.
But then again, all the hairs were standing up on the back of my neck.
The building's hallway and narrow staircase looked awfully foreboding.
They were lit by dim, fluorescent yellow light.
I could just make out a doorway at the top of the stairs. It was on the right-hand side.
It was also slightly ajar, leading into an apartment.
An air of intensely stale, musty smoke wafted down the stairs. And then there was the tone of stark urgency in the woman's voice. She urged me to step fully inside. She wanted me to get up the stairs as quickly as possible. Her tone wasn't too far from the voice of a cartoon villain.
A villain rubbing their hands together while hatching a nefarious plan.
I stood in the entryway.
I was tipsily trying to weigh the very bad feeling in my stomach.
I weighed it against my lifelong fear of being impolite. I actually giggled at how absurdly horror movie-esque the moment felt. It couldn't be a real threat, right? It was too spot on.
I must be imagining it.
Fortunately, my roommate intervened. She had seen more shit in her life than I have.
She literally yelled out, "Oh, hell no!"
She hooked her arm into mine.
She pulled me out the door and down the street as quickly as possible.
The old woman yelled disappointedly after us.
My roommate whisked me across the street.
We ran down the subway stairs.
We were back into the safety of a warm, brightly lit public space full of people. Once we had safely escaped, My roommate shared two things. These had set off definitive alarm bells in her head. First, she was certain the woman's limp wasn't there initially.
It had only appeared as we got closer to her.
Second, in her words,
As you stood in the doorway, I suddenly knew something.
she had a creepy adult son waiting for us at the top of the stairs.
He was going to chain you to her bed.
Perhaps it was just our fanciful imaginations.
But I have always felt grateful to my roommate's instincts.
She kept us away from whatever was at the top of those stairs.